anytime I hear someone say, we got this new business partner, a year later, they're like, oh yeah, they're not with the company anymore, but they didn't have a vesting schedule. And so now they have however much percent of your company forever.
Hello and welcome to the Coffee Sometimes podcast. We got a real barn burner for you guys today. We have one of our favorite coffee review segments thus far, Touchy Coffee out of Troy, New York, and they're highlighting their washed Colombian. Super awesome, super fun. Riley also gets to show off a new brewer that he bought into the program, the Next Level Pulsar, and we get into some of the nitty gritties as we answer some awesome questions from our viewers around roasting operation, bookkeeping, green sourcing, owner-operator agreements, a really cool glimpse into how Valor operates and anything that we can share that might help you guys out as well. And if you enjoy the show, whatever podcast app you're on, if you could do us a solid and leave an awesome review or rate it or share it on social media, goes a long way and helps us keep growing our crew. Lastly, too, we want to shout out the Valor Dunwoody Cafe. Valor Dunwoody's been open for about 6 months now, and it has been awesome. We have had such a fun time growing that community, building up awesome leaders who have taken ownership of the space. We have an amazing team that really does just love to uplift people through coffee. And so seeing what we're doing in Alpharetta and honestly being able to entrust people and replicating that in Dunwoody has been a delight, to say the least. So whether you're local or you're thinking about ever traveling into town, definitely a worthy visit to the perimeter to check out Valor Dunwoody. Enjoy the show.
Ethan today, telling me.
Is he getting under your skin again?
Yes, but I'm gonna make it through.
Skin.
Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed again? Well, what is it with like the different sides of your bed though?
You have no idea what I'm going
Are there like some serious issues with your bed, or like what's the root here?
I mean, it's a bamboo bed, you know.
Aren't you so interested in what I'm doing?
Yes. This brewer.
Oh, you can do it like that?
Apparently.
What's this brewer called?
This is the Next Level Pulsar Brewer.
I have so many questions.
Oh, I bet you do.
Cappuccino.
I'm ready for cappuccino. It seems like, based off of my critical initial analysis, that this brewer combines full immersion and percolation into one vessel. Is that accurate?
Ross, you've never made more sense than right now.
And that's rare because, you know, a French press would be a full immersion brew. A clever is one that, you know, you've got the paper filter, but you've also got the full immersion.
Dude, AeroPress.
AeroPress, also full immersion and paper filter. So what sets this one apart from those two?
So you have a few different things at play here.
Okay.
And
break it down.
I think the main selling point of this, found this brewer through Jonathan Gagne.
Gagne.
Yeah. And he is a physicist who wrote a book called The Physics of Filter Coffee.
Okay.
And
interest peaked.
I'm not sure if he owns part of this company or if he just endorses the company. But nonetheless, Scott Rao is selling these. And I think the main selling point is that this is a no bypass brewer. So
hubba.
There is a stopper that you can actuate. You can actuate a stopper.
Okay.
And with that, you can cause some, oh my gosh, you can cause some full immersion to happen, and then you turn the stopper, water starts draining, and all water has to pass through the coffee.
As opposed to a V60 where...
Ooh, and it has this shower screen that you pour your water through, which is cool.
So why does all the water have to pass through? Like, what about the mechanism makes that happen? Ooh, that's nice to watch.
There is a hole at the center bottom of this brewer. It's like an AeroPress. Like, you know how all water has to pass through the coffee on an AeroPress?
Yeah.
Similar concept.
This was a good Slozetta.
Thanks, man. You mean it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe we can show the viewers.
Yeah. We'll have to get Riley to take a picture on his Apple.
So what I did there is I did dry WDT, poured water, like a 1-to-3 ratio of the bloom, so 3 times the dry weight.
When it's
And
typically
then
2.
when I started doing wet WDT, it started draining out the bottom, so I turned the stopper to close off, allowing
So
it to
you're,
come out. So the bloom right now is full immersion.
yeah.
But here at 1 minute, I'm going to turn it again, and we're going to start draining.
So similar technique to AeroPress.
See that? We're draining.
But it
I
is-
mean,
And then I'm going to do small pulses, and we're aiming for a total brew time of around like 5 to 6 minutes. Which is
so
pretty long.
longer brew time. What kind of grind setting are we grinding on?
Coarse,
Yeah, like how
Like-
coarse?
like Chemex vibes.
Okay.
Or I had a lot of trouble with clogging whenever I first started messing with this, and I have since done a couple of remedies, like what I did with the paper filter at the beginning. Like to try to get all the oxygen out of the brewer to help with clogging. What are you boys doing over there?
This espresso is incredible.
What are we tasting this morning?
Man.
One Paul Judy of Valor Coffee,
Thank you, Paul.
Dunwoody, and a longtime friend, sent us via his hands.
Did he hand it to you?
I handed it to Sam Smith.
Okay, well, he had it sent to the roastery. He just went on a trip. Is that right? Did he get this on his trip? Or-
I think he got that coffee from Meadowlark.
oh,
I'm just going to tell you straight up.
okay.
You for realsies?
Yeah.
The hottest
I could be wrong.
multi-roaster.
I know that he was at Meadowlark recently, I think.
Okay.
Paul, comment below.
Touchy Coffee. Ethan, why don't you block your face? I'll block my face too.
You guys be careful with the table. You're really agitating this brew.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, you're too touchy about your Nexar Pulsar.
You need to taste that espresso.
Next Level Pulsar.
It's like when we couldn't figure out what the Stag XF was called.
Oh my
Isn't
goodness.
that delectable?
Yeah, that is incredible. I did have this coffee already. I cheated.
It was a cheat
And
code moment.
it was
Oh, that looks
so good.
nice.
This tastes like oat milk. Is it oat milk?
Oatmeal milk? No, bro. You think I could pour off that kind of
All right, what's
slowsy?
the story of this coffee? Who's touchy?
Let me just read the copy.
The cap is. Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
Wait, no, say what you're going to say.
No, it's super boring. But it's awesome.
Okay.
Boring's not bad.
Boring's not bad.
Sometimes you have to be bored to come up with your best ideas.
Touchy
That's
Coffee. Great logo type.
Yep.
You like that? That's so you.
I wouldn't say that's so me.
It's so
Well, it's
you.
it's the super goofy looking stuff, and then it's like this
and you're
bold.
super goofy.
It's like this
Goofy.
bold collegiate
Yes.
kind of stuff.
So you got whole bean coffee. Coffee is Colombia Jorge Rojas. It is a washed process. Variety Catura. Notes of, it doesn't say notes of, it just says raspberry fudgesicle, 95 bulls.
What?
That's fun.
I don't get the reference. Does that just mean like it's
Awesome.
like
The
amazing?
best ever.
I think that's what they're going for. It's just the best. So
Awesome.
as fellow sports lovers, we can respect
That hit.
the reference. Touchy Coffee. See, they have their fun big type, and then they have a similar
Classy.
font for their logo,
It's
or like
more cursive.
a condensed option. Cover your face.
You're not. You gotta come down. How about I just do this?
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's how we should start doing that.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna do it from now on, guys.
Yeah, that's looking good. I really dig the gray.
It's a 2-sticker process as well.
Hey, that's not. Oh, okay.
Blank bag, I believe. Would you all agree?
I'm curious about some things with this.
Go ahead.
What are the things? The different things.
So this is not a custom bag. but it is a very specific size of bag. It's so wide,
Yeah.
as if it is custom.
It's kind of the new thing, though. Do you think maybe bag manufacturers are just catching the trend that wide bags are in? And
Like
you can-
Dutch coffee pack just has a standard, but even the feel of
I've seen that before.
the texture, everything.
yeah. No, it's nice.
Guys, this coffee brewed incredibly well.
Oh,
Look at how even the bed is.
I was hoping you were going to talk about
see
the
that?
bed.
Hubba hubba. Similar to after you pull a shot.
Bow chicka bow wow.
Take a look at that puck. See if you got any channeling. That's looking real good. Yeah, get you a picture of that.
Did you take a picture of my cappuccino? Touchy Coffee, paying homage to the vast number.
Homage.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, phew. It would have been fine if I'm wrong. I'm not afraid of being wrong.
Really?
A real man
That's
is not
news to
afraid
me.
of being wrong. Paying homage to the vast number of hands that plant, tend,
I just
process,
really wanna stir it.
import, let me finish, roast, and brew this coffee before it finds its way to your cup. Not to your mouth. Interesting. Thoughtfully roasted by Touchy Coffee, address, Troy, New York. Anyone know where Troy is?
Hardly.
Is that upstate? Is that western?
I have no clue.
Roasted on the 19th, and then they circled the size. Fun.
This is checking a lot of boxes.
Do they
so
have
far.
their Instagram or website?
They have their Instagram and their website.
Oh,
Come on, son.
shoo, man.
At touchy.coffee, touchycoffee.com. They got .com. Respect.
And they have the location.
And they have their address.
Wow.
Whether that's a public address
Or a P.O. box.
or like their private
Who's to say?
roastery.
That was one of the better espressos I've had in recent memory. I'll leave you one more sip.
Thanks. It was fun. It was kind of tasting good across the board. We were doing 19 to 50. You had a 20-second shot. That was awesome. It was just a little salty. I think legit this one was more in the 27 second,
Okay.
28 seconds. And I felt comfortable because I knew this coffee seemed of a high quality. And when a coffee is more yummy, I just feel like you can stretch it. You know?
Yeah.
You can kind of like push that extraction, try to get as close to over extracted as possible.
Well, and this is still a lighter roasted coffee. Mike, maybe this would be a good time to check out these beans.
Oh, wow.
Those lighter roasted
You wanna send
coffees can be
You got
tough. I guess it's not super light, but delicious. What do you say we start grading this?
Yeah, and then maybe by the time we get to flavor, our coffee will be cool enough to drink.
Yeah.
Packaging. All right, let's start with content. What are we thinking about the content out of 5?
Out of 5.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3,
5.
5?
I don't know what to add.
The only thing that's...
There's no coffee specific descriptor. That's the thing for me.
What do you mean?
Like there's not a deep, like our box has a detailed paragraph
About
about
the
the coffee
coffee?
itself.
I was going to say like 4.5. I was thinking about that, and then I was also thinking like besides maybe the font, there's not a lot of like fun. And I like fun, but that's just personal. But it's awesome nonetheless. It definitely gives you what you need.
So 4.5?
Yeah, 4.5 is great.
Sure.
I do like the 95 Bulls thing. That's pretty awesome.
That is very awesome.
Yeah. Aesthetic out of 10.
Out of 10.
1, 2, 3, 9.
7.
Wow.
So 8.
8.
Yeah. I think this is the best iteration of a white label bag I've ever seen.
It's up there.
It's
And
dynamic.
I'm like, how could they even improve their packaging? Really? Yeah. If they went custom, I guess maybe just floor it out, that logo.
Yeah,
you know?
the thing that people do with custom or with non-custom bags when they want it to look cool is just put as large of a label as possible on it. And that's cool, but if you can do that, like if you can accomplish a really great look with a more minimalist approach, that's cooler to me because it's more difficult.
Yeah. Can I just say something right here on the Coffee Sometimes podcast?
That's
ahead.
what we're here for, baby.
Rebuking us.
Yeah.
I think UX should be out of 5 and content should be out of 10.
What?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, UX is kind of like a weird umbrella category,
Yeah.
and it really like confuses me,
Hey.
I actually agree.
and it doesn't make me feel seen.
Do we want
You don't
to
feel seen?
do we want to do that right now?
We're in
Is
charge.
that fair?
Is it fair to the people of past?
Yeah, of old.
People of old?
Dude, I don't know what you're talking about. That cappuccino was fuego. It tasted like caramel.
So we're bumping content up to 9 and we're going to do UX out of 5.
Yeah, because with UX, a lot of times it's just going to be like middle of the road. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not saying.
That does taste like caramel. Now that you say that.
All right. Let's go UX out of 5. 1, 2, 3,
4.
3. I mean, I'm thinking middle of the road here. Beefy zipper. I'll give him that.
As in, like, it closes back.
Yeah, it closes back.
I respect.
It's a good sip.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, true.
So thank you, Dutch Bag Co., if that's your name. Dutch Coffee Pack. You want to give it a 3.5? Big man?
Sure.
Hey, have you tasted the cappuccino and noticed that it tastes like caramel?
Yeah.
Caramel?
I'm just playing.
Wait. Hold up. Caramel?
It's like you're mixing caramel and caramel.
Caramel by the sea.
Yeah.
It tastes like
My favorite
an
restaurant.
octane carmelado.
Oh!
Bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Say less.
If you know, smash a like. All right, let's talk about the taste of the coffee.
We start with the crunchy?
No, we're gonna end with the crunch.
And with a crunch.
How about flavor?
Flavor.
Out of 10.
To me, this is a textbook. Like you would love this coffee.
Yeah.
Stop.
Like it's
Yeah.
a Colombian.
Were you
but
guys
it's-
around when I tasted it yesterday?
No, it's more subtle on filter. As espresso, it really shines because all those complexities come out. But you know, if you were an amateur coffee drinker, you might just be like, "Oh, this is But
But someone of your...
But like, obviously, you're not an amateur, and
You're
that's what I was
not
trying
an
to
amateur.
imply.
Oh my
Does
gosh.
that make sense?
I'm
means
over
so
here
much
thinking
coming
like,
from
yeah,
you guys.
this is good. But you're over here like... You
I'm not
don't
over
This
here
is
with
the
that.
best.
You're like palate.
Yep.
Bergamot.
Out of 10. 1, 2, 3, 8.
7.
Wow, you went higher than me.
Okay, this is what I really like, and I understand that you're talking about him, but can we talk about me for a second?
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
When coffees break the mold of what they're supposed to be is always so cool.
That's entertaining.
Like this is just a washed Colombian, so you would just think chocolatey, sweet, good.
I wouldn't, but
I know. Well, that's the thing. It's like it's super complex. It's very vibrant. It's got like amazing balance and sweetness, and it's just got that like that fudgy base. So it's just like an amazing drinking experience.
If somebody told you that this was a washed Ethiopian and you
yeah.
just took a sip, would you believe them? Like,
no. I'm sorry.
I think I'd be pretty close to believing them.
I would not believe it was I would think it was like a honey processed Costa Rica or something like that.
It's really cool. This is
Like
why
a black
Colombia,
honey.
a black honey.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
This is why Colombia is your favorite origin.
That's right.
It's so diverse.
We really could switch to all Colombian coffees and I wouldn't even be that sad.
Yeah, I think everybody else would.
Who?
Our people that buy our coffee.
Yeah.
All of our work is
It would be so much easier to form like
Awesome
relationships.
True.
It's tempting. If I ever start another coffee company.
when you start another.
When I
coffee
start another
by
coffee
yourself.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's unblended, right? All Colombian coffees.
Yeah.
all day. So wait, 9,
7.
8,
8. So 8.
8.
Enjoyability out of 10. 1, 2, 3,
8.
9.
Yeah. We'll bump up to your 9 on that one.
It's just it's amazing.
It is amazing.
That
Or I guess we can
espresso
go
is
8.5,
giving.
whatever. Every every iteration of this coffee is enjoyable.
Yeah, cappuccino.
You seemed a little reluctant on the cap at the start.
Yeah, but then after Ethan said it tasted like caramel, I was like,
After he said it tasted like caramel by the sea.
Caramel.
yes, it's delicious.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get our total. Oh no, sorry,
Oh, the
crunch.
crunch.
Oh my gosh. Who am I kidding?
You
You're
got-
gonna
you do
you're gonna
two?
do 2 crunch?
What's wrong with you?
A lot.
Oh, that is light. Light roasted.
Whoa. I don't want to tank their score because of the crunch, but
That's part of it.
what does that even mean?
It's just our little thing we do. We're not.
To keep us at the top. Yeah. Look at the free throw score. Figure out how bad we need to get the crunch so we can make sure that we're above it.
Yeah, just pull that up real quick. All right.
Man.
Crunch out of 5.
Oh, whoa, aftertaste is crazy. All right, 1, 2, 3.
3.
Just give him a 3.
I'm gonna give him a 3.
Don't listen to him.
The worst part about that crunch was not the flavor, but the incredibly light beans.
It was like a rock.
Which, again, like if it's a lighter coffee and they develop it well, that's super impressive. So the crunch will never be good for that type of coffee. So maybe it is kind of lame.
Yeah. Everything's perfect about the coffee, but just when you crunch the beans, it's not very good.
All right.
Literally, it's like not meant to be enjoyed that way at all. And we're
Like
taking
when I
the score.
drive over the beans with my car, it doesn't feel right.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry, Touchy Coffee. I know you have no idea this is happening right now.
Nor are you listening. I am gonna have to say grand total 40. 40 out of 50,
Lower than free throw.
which is lower than free throw.
Free throw is 42.5, right?
Free throw, and again, because we are giving a comprehensive score based on packaging and more.
Yeah.
Like, I think this coffee, I think free throw is like a 10 enjoyability, but like a 7 flavor.
Sure.
So like as far as the beans in there, I mean, this coffee's better than free throw
Oh, yeah. It's probably more expensive, too.
for sure. But we really won on the packaging, content, UX side for sure.
But for what they're working with, it's fuego.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Major fuego.
I am really impressed with this coffee, and I think I'll probably be buying some Touchy Coffee for home.
Yeah.
Especially if it's at Meadow.
And maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong.
You just call it Meadow now?
The people on the inn call it Meadow. Yeah. Or Meta.
That's impressive.
Because it's owned by Zuckerberg.
Dang,
Yep.
dude.
JP.
Already?
Yeah.
Well, if you're enjoying the show so far, go ahead and smash like and subscribe to the program. We're getting close to 1,000 YouTube subscribers.
What are we going to do to celebrate? Shave my head on live.
Yes, dude.
That's a big deal, man.
That would honestly be really annoying. How many small hairs would just be on the floor?
Yeah, we would never get them up. Except we have a Dyson,
Yes.
so that would work, actually.
We do have a Dyson. That's a flex.
Yeah.
Well, no book segment today because we finished the book.
Rest in peace, book. It was fun.
Thank
It
you,
was.
Will.
Yeah, I think you will. But today, for the rest of the program, we've received some questions, and we're just going to kind of go through them.
Chop it up, baby.
Meander.
Yeah. Let's start here. So we had someone write in. I believe they're looking to start a coffee roastery.
Ooh.
And they had some questions about coffee roasteries.
Hopefully we have some answers.
Here we go. Other than COGS, that's cost of goods sold, what expenses, especially unforeseen, are common for just keeping the lights on in a roastery? Rent, maintenance, etc.
Unfortunately, I know you said the question, but you might be the best one to answer it too.
I can say a few things.
Please.
And then you can.
Please.
And then you can also if you want to. I think roasters break,
That they do.
you know? And so whether the part that breaks is expensive or not, it's an expensive situation because your wholesale partners are relying on you to get their coffee on the same day every week. And they usually do. That's the problem. Like it usually works well. So that
Yeah.
expectation is set, rightfully so. And if you're starting a new roastery, you're not going to be roasting every day. So it's going to be roasted on the same day, shipped on the same day. And so whenever the roaster breaks, which it will, you can potentially lose customers, which is
Money.
the biggest expense ever.
Yeah.
Because it's not just an expense, but it's like future dollars. It's not just like, something you have to like replace a couch or something.
Yeah, for sure. We've seen this happen a couple of times, and we fortunately haven't been in like a what do they call it, like def con.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know the varying degrees of.
Yeah.
I've seen that in movies.
We haven't been on red alert, like the worst of the worst. But even Monday, like I roasted on Thursday. At the end of the day, the chaff caught on fire. You guys ever seen that happen?
Yes.
So it just happens, especially with our roaster. Like the chaff catches on fire, and then you have to quench it with water because there's a water inlet right there. And I quenched it, but it still flipped like the fault of like temperatures too high, as in like telling us it was on fire. And it didn't break anything, but all day on Monday when Sam was roasting, the roaster just didn't work. And so like Sam eventually got it to work, but it was like 11. And usually he starts roasting at 7 a.m. So then roasting had to stretch into Tuesday. I think we made everything work decently well, but still, imagine if it just wouldn't have started working.
Yep.
Usually he gets on the phone with Loring. They help us diagnose some things. Fortunately, a lot of things on that roaster are bypassable. Like we've been able to, like if there's a high temperature fault, sometimes you can bypass the fault and still roast, and it'll be like temporary until they can send you a part or whatever.
And Loring's on the West Coast.
But Loring is on the West Coast. Yeah. Our closest tech, like Loring Tech, is in North Carolina. So there could be a situation where like we wouldn't be able to roast on our Monday roast day, and then we couldn't get someone down here by Friday. That's a week of not roasting.
Oh, yeah.
And that is extremely expensive.
Yep.
Because, okay, sure, maybe you can figure out another way to get your coffee roasted, but even if you are able to, you're going to be so thrown off from what you're normally doing, your normal money generating activities. Like that is all very abstract expense, but
very real.
That is a stress point for us around here for sure. So I will say you can remedy that by having relationships with other roasters in your area. Like, I feel pretty confident that if we were ever just SOL, I could probably call Joel and Charles of Bellwood, and Sam or myself could go roast.
Yeah. That goes both ways, by the way, if y'all are listening.
Exactly. So, and that,
And we know
that
you are.
is, the same spirit with that. If someone from around here called us, we would probably figure out a way to make it happen for them.
For the right price, yeah.
Yeah.
$3,000.
And so those relationships are important, and you should find at least one where you can be friends.
What about green coffee? Like, I know, tell me the workflow of, you cup a coffee that an importer sends you. You like it.
I think that's going to be the next question.
Okay.
And we can kind of press into that. I want to say a couple more
Put the
things
brakes on, buddy.
On kind of keeping the doors open. A lot of times you have a space that is a triple net lease, which means whatever happens, you're kind of liable for it. So
AC unit.
yeah, like here, if our AC unit just stopped working tomorrow, we'd probably have to scrounge up $10,000
$500, yeah.
to figure out
$600
that AC unit. So, even if a lot of times the lease requires it, but have regular maintenance on all your stuff so that you don't have to worry about that. Same thing with the luring. If we just make sure to always keep our luring in good shape, it's less likely that bad things are going to happen.
Pay a little now or pay a lot later.
Yeah.
Hello.
And then lastly, utilities are expensive, especially here. You can find a smaller space. That's definitely an option. But like our roastery is like 3,000 square feet, which isn't huge, but it's not small.
Yeah.
And it's really high ceilings, cooled. So like we have to spend a good bit of money on electric and gas every month.
Yep.
And depending on any desires you have for your space, we have the training lab. It's pretty upfront costs on equipment
Yep.
as well.
Yeah.
Hey, you might need a mini fridge for your lunch too.
Yeah.
So those don't come cheap.
As far as like the gear that we use here, I just, because we had some experience roasting at someone else's facility, I think we were able to make some good decisions right up front with, the expensive items. Like these packaging tables they're not cheap, but like they're going to be with us for as long as we're roasting.
Yeah.
The pallet stacker, that was a big upfront expense. I know he's talking about ongoing expenses, but there's, if you're going to have like a facility where you're moving pallets around and you're pushing some weight, there's definitely some upfront costs.
And I mean, the pallet stacker, that saves us $50. Usually a lift gate is $50 on shipments. So it saves $50 every time we receive a pallet.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, that's money in the bank, baby.
Kaboom.
Next question.
Good
How much
compromise.
green coffee should we buy up front, and how many origins to start with? We currently use a single origin for our cold brew, a blend for espresso, and a single origin for drip with our current roaster partner. We go through about 200 pounds of coffee per month in the cafe now. I'll just speak to this. Start your menu small, or to where, a lot of times you, especially when you're just getting started, you're struggling to like meet the minimum batch size of your roaster. So like for us with the luring, we don't like to roast below 15-pound batches, but like 10-pound would probably be the lowest we would go. So if you are just getting started and you want to have 8 coffees on your menu, and your only account is like maybe your own cafe or like one more, there's a chance that if you're roasting 2 days a week, you're only gonna need 5 pounds of that Kenya,
right.
But you have to roast 10 pounds. So after a loss, you're gonna get like 8.5 pounds. So you're gonna have extra coffee left over. So I would start the menu small, especially because you want to fill pallets when you order coffee. So
You dropping some bombs right now.
how about that? Yeah. So whenever you order from most roasters, so there are some now that ship in like boxes to where it'll be like a half sack in a box that's shipped UPS or something like that. But traditionally, you're going to be ordering coffee from an importer, and they are going to send you your coffee on a pallet. And pallets, no matter how many sacks of coffee are on there, they take up the same amount of space in a truck.
Wow.
So it's going to be the same price, whether it's 1 sack on the pallet or whether it's 10 sacks on the pallet.
Max is 10.
Yeah. So if you wanted to do 1 sack and say it cost $150 to ship a pallet, that's a lot of shipping costs on that 1 sack.
Yeah.
So you always want to hit that 10 sack threshold. I'm not saying we always do. Sometimes we'll order from maybe an importer we're not pushing a ton of green from, and we might order 8 sacks and we just incur that expense and we build it into the retail price of the coffee. But for the most part, you're going to be better off getting 10 sacks and thus keeping your menu small when you first start so that you can fill that up. If you're especially like if you're mainly pushing blend coffee, that's a lot of times for us, 8 sacks on a pallet will be from like one of our blend components, and then the other 2 sacks will be like a single origin that we have at the given moment.
Yeah, I think we really benefited early on from having our flagship coffee being a 2-bean blend. And the reason is when you have a 2-bean blend, the minority component, let's just say it's a natural sun-dried coffee, that can be one of your single origins. And so it just ups the batch size of that single origin because your flagship coffee, your most popular coffee, has that in the blend.
Mm-hmm. That's what we did to start. And I think, especially in their situation, so they say that they have a blend for espresso, a single origin for cold brew, and a single origin for drip. So in that, I can see you having at least 4 coffees right there. So 2 components in your blend, like let's say you do a washed and natural blend. So you have maybe that wash, and you could even break out that washed coffee and have it as well. So that could be 5.
Yeah.
So you could have a washed and natural in your blend. You could separate those, do the washed single origin and the natural single origin. So that's 3 coffees. Then you do another single origin for drip. That's 4 coffees. And then you do another single origin for cold brew. That's 5 coffees.
Decaf too?
Yeah, and then decaf. So with those,
Good catch.
you can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Since you are pushing all that volume in those channels in your business, you can way more easily meet your minimum batch size requirements.
Can I ask a question that someone might be thinking?
Please.
Is there...
Can I talk down to you?
Please.
Awesome.
Wouldn't expect it any other way. Is there any sort of discount for buying more coffee when you're buying the difference between like 1 and 10 sacks, or is it typically like way higher before you can start getting some like volume discounts?
Yeah, usually you have to be pushing more than that. Like I bet if we ordered 2 pallets of a specific coffee at the same time, we can probably get it. We don't really keep a lot of coffee on hand here, and we do incur some holding fees because that's usually what you do. So if we know a coffee is going to go into a blend and we reserve 150 sacks of it, it means that like they are going to hold it in the warehouse and then just ship it to us when we ask for it and release it. There is essentially rent charged for that, so it would be better to get all the coffee up front, but we don't have the space or the liquid to do that. Honestly.
And we don't pay for that coffee up front.
Correct.
We just pay for the holding fee.
Yeah, exactly. So you delay your payment for it and you just have a contract saying, I will buy this coffee.
Yeah. I think that's a common misconception. Like the first startup costs for a roastery. Man, how am I I got to reserve all this coffee if I want a good lot of it.
Yeah.
So how am I going to buy all of it?
And you're better off doing that. We would, and even now it's like with our blend with free throw, we probably could fill a container of coffee and use it before it was bad.
Yeah.
But like we might have to go take out a loan to be able to afford that, because that would be like, I don't know, $100,000 or something.
Yeah. But
so,
if the interest is
exactly.
lower than the holding fee, then it's worth it.
Lower than the holding fee or the savings that you would save by ordering coffee in that much of bulk.
Double
and
whammy.
It probably is. So we've been kind of talking about it, but do not do that right after you start.
Yeah, for sure.
We've been roasting for how long? Since
15 years?
Since
18, July 4th, baby.
July 4th, 2018. We still haven't bought like a container of coffee.
Yeah, and you don't have to do that in the beginning. Like importers have...
Or ever.
Yeah, importers are trying to be micro roaster friendly in that setup. So that's nice.
Yeah. Next question. I know you guys mentioned hiring a wholesale director too soon and it costing too much. As GM, it seems like most of the external sales fall to me by default. I'm hoping that we can eventually have someone in a position that can gain wholesale accounts, etc., but that position won't necessarily be the same as the roaster. Thoughts? I think that position probably should be the same as the roaster for at least a while,
if they're not roasting 5 days a week.
Exactly. So, or it should just be you as the GM. And I know that is not a sexy answer, but...
Is that GM of the cafe probably?
I'm assuming so, yeah. I see why you would want that, but it's like create the position yourself and then replace it later if there's a need for it. And what we have noticed, and I know that each company is different, it's like our wholesale relationships have come from just like building personal relationships with people largely.
And capitalizing on them.
Using them.
But like, just get out and, like don't overthink it, especially in the beginning. You know, like you are always going to be the primary driver of your weight. That's just kind of facts. Like you sell the most of your coffee retail. So, if there's a cafe that you want to court, like don't think about it that way. Just like, first of all, see if your values align with them by getting to know the person, taking them out to lunch, just like hanging out with them. And then if it does, then great. Then you have a chance to bag a wholesale account and like form a partnership. But wholesale sales is just much harder than it's made out to be, I would say.
Yeah. And the thing too is if you're just starting out and you hire a wholesale sales director, lead person, like none of the multi roasters want your coffee anyways. Like if you send your coffee, your 4 or 5 offerings to them, and they're like, I've never heard of this, and you just spend all this money on samples.
Yeah.
Like
We did that.
And
with crappy packaging.
Definitely didn't work.
Yeah.
And our coffee was worse then.
For sure.
Or I should say it's not as great as it is now.
Yes.
42.5.
42 number 1, baby.
The
but
results speak for themselves.
Local relationships. That's what I was going to say too. And the majority of our leads for wholesale still come from our 2 cafes. And that you would think that those leads are only local because obviously our cafes are local to us, but that's not even true. Like we have people that drive in from different places in the Southeast, and they're like, I loved your cafe and I'd love to serve your coffee.
That's cool.
So that's all just built in what this guy's already doing.
You got anything else? You don't have to say yes. Don't talk if it's not awesome.
All right, let me think about what's awesome. Yeah, I mean, depending on what you're doing roasting wise, it's like I feel like if you hired a position for a roaster and you're just starting a roastery, it's either like they work in the cafe part-time, or they could do, if you have the cash flow to like put them on like some sort of salary and just have them try to push samples, not push samples, but push sales. It's hard though. I think a lot of it is a super slow game as far as just like going out there and being in the community.
Yeah, even if it is like an eat what you kill commission position, like coffee's not that expensive. And especially wholesale, like it's a huge discount. Wholesale is. So if somebody's making a sale on an account that gives you $300 a week, like gross, like they're not really going to be pulling in much commission from that in the first place.
Yeah, because realistically, that's not a huge account. So it's like you have to keep your cost of acquisition low.
And you can.
And you can, but just saying, where are you going to give them a $100 bonus for bagging the account? Like, you got to...
Yeah.
Your cost of acquisition should be measured off of profit. That's what I'm trying to say. You're like after your cost of goods. So this is not a lucrative business.
And profit is in the gutter when you're first starting a roastery.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thought around that would be like, get your smart people together, make a list of like, all right, we're in this area. Who do you think would just like be interested in working with us? What kind of relationships have we already established through the cafe or through our personal lives? Talk to those people, do the like conversation, wholesale talks, the samples. And then when that starts to like run its course, just work on your product. Like probably the best thing for that roaster to do is just keep investing in like how to make their product so amazing. Because I think if you just focus on sales and what you're selling is not as good as it needs to be, it's a miss.
Yeah, we did this spreadsheet one time, and we kind of keep it running, but it's a spreadsheet of our true cost per pound of coffee after utilities, unforeseen expenses, everything is considered.
Depressing.
And whenever we first opened this warehouse, for the longest time, our true cost of coffee was like $22 per pound, and we were selling coffee on average for $11.50 per pound. So that's how much money we were losing.
Hemorrhaging?
Yes, I would call that hemorrhaging. So for the longest time, but doing things like that let you set metrics of like, okay, we have to get this operation to this weight to be able to do that. So for the longest time, we were like, we got to get 2,500 pounds per month. And we have surpassed that at this point, thankfully.
Now we do it in a day, baby.
But yeah, so hey, spreadsheets like that, we're currently in the process of building a platform of sorts for you to be able to access those things, and our wholesale accounts get a little bit of an insider track to that. So if you're interested in that, whether your wholesale account or not, just stay in touch, and we will have more details on how you can sign up to receive updates on that.
Let's go. What else we got? Anything good?
Yeah, I think this is from a different email. I probably should have listed that out here in my show notes, but We have a question about operating agreements.
Oh,
Really sexy
nice.
stuff.
Spicy. We're hitting all the hot stuff today.
So, on creating an operating agreement with your business partners, should you pay for legal service / advice, or should you do it yourself? And they also want to know some points of stress you might have experienced while creating Valor's operating agreement. I would say you should definitely pay for someone else to do it. Someone who knows what they're doing and has drafted an operating agreement before, because there's a lot of boilerplate that you want in there.
You need that external voice.
Yeah, a lot of best practices for honestly, my favorite thing about our operating agreement that I haven't looked at in I don't know how many years, honestly, is
Do I still have like 5% in the company or something?
the verbiage of what would happen if one of us died. That's my favorite thing about our operating agreement, because it
Your favorite?
Well,
you think
yeah.
about it all the time?
Yes. Because if I died, I know that there are processes that wouldn't hurt the company, but would create an out for my wife. Because that's not how this works. And that's why you have an operating agreement. If I die, Michaela doesn't just become a partner in Valor, because that wouldn't be good for any party involved.
Yeah.
She'd do an amazing job.
But
All right.
but rather, there would be a process for you guys / Valor buying out my equity that was now transferred to Michaela / Jude. So, yeah, I think Jude actually would be the partner.
He's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready.
That's really my favorite thing. There are other things, like if we come to a decision, how we involve a third party and things of those sorts.
The vesting schedule is pretty clutch. I think it probably has ran its course by now.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's very important. There should be a vesting schedule. Oh my god.
Oh,
Dude, this is your podcast.
just
Listen.
go off. We're just going to sit here and watch.
Anytime I hear someone say, "Oh yeah, like we got this new business partner," and it instantly kind of sounds like a little bit interesting, and then a year later they're like, "Oh yeah, they're not with the company anymore," but they didn't have a vesting schedule, and so now they have however much percent of your company,
20% or something.
forever for the rest of the time, unless you buy them out earlier than later.
Which is only going to get more difficult.
Yes. So have a vesting schedule. And what a vesting schedule is, with us, it would say, okay, we are 33% partners in this business. For the first year, we all have 0% equity if we were to leave the company. Mm-hmm. For the second year, we all have, I don't know, I'm just going to do simple numbers, 11% equity if we were to leave the company. The third year, 22%. The fourth year, we are completely vested and we have 33% equity each. So you have to sweat, that is a part of, even as being founders, putting in sweat equity into the business to, assure that you have earned your equity with the company. So if our numbers were a little different, but if I would have left in year 2, I would not have as much equity as you guys had.
Why would you leave?
We can get into another.
Do we need to
podcast.
involve a third party?
Maybe.
I just speaking to the question of should I involve is it an attorney? Is that the right lawyer? That's probably
What's
someone.
the difference?
Good question.
Is there a difference?
I didn't go to law school. The whole point of involving that person is, one, the best practices, but they are going to help you put guardrails around the dynamics of your relationship. And especially if you have never started a business with this person before, which I assume that's probably 95% of the people listening to this, you're going into a venture with someone you've never started a business with before, including your spouse. Like it's a new set of dynamics. That person, the third party, is going to be able to be an objective voice for you, because if you were to figure out your operating agreement between the two of you or the three of you, those dynamics and potentially damaging dynamics and potentially needs maturing dynamics are already at play. So if you're for example, when we first started, Riley was more of a bulldozer and we were more of a passive dirt.
We were the dirt.
Right.
You guys were nothing.
Yeah.
Like literally nothing.
And we have learned over the years how to access the best version of that, or getting better at the a better version of that, the good parts of those dynamics. If we were to start our operating agreement 7 years ago with that dynamic at play, then our operating agreement would have reflected that in perpetuity. And so whenever you involve an outside party, they're able to like notice a dynamic like that and put guardrails around it, so that as you grow and as you mature and as you learn how to work with one another and bring out the best in each other, there's an objective and long-lasting agreement that keeps that going.
Yeah. And there are a couple of ways of structuring. Okay, I will say this. The three of us have never gone to mediation on the decision. We have definitely hashed out some things and argued for weeks on end.
Ad nauseum.
And then, I would say in some ways it's been more of like maybe we have an idea and we talk to Roy about it and he brings clarity and just kind of helps us. That's kind of a dynamic. But we've never had to like go sit down at formal mediation. But our operating agreement is structured to where if one person is opposed to something, we have to take the neutral stance until we figure out what we're talking about. So if Ross and Ethan are saying, we just really want to open a cafe in Bora Bora, and I'm like, no, we don't go ahead with opening the cafe.
Well, majority
in Bora Bora until we have mediation and come to a decision together.
The mediator's like Bora Bora.
Yeah.
I remember that, man. There was two different scenarios for decisions. One scenario was, do we do A or B? So you're choosing between two things. Mm-hmm. And then the second set of decisions was, we're going to do something or we're not going to do something. Those are different. So you're saying we handle those two situations a little differently. Like the first one is unanimous, right? Like A or B would be unanimous.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
And then to do it or to not do it, that's different than A or B. The default is if there's one person that doesn't want to do it, we default to not doing it. Mm-hmm. Just because that's the more conservative approach.
Yeah.
Basically, because there's a timeliness to those decisions. Like, we got to sign this lease today.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're saying no, it's like, well, we can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in theory, if we came to a decision soon enough,
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is there might be some verbiage in our operating agreement about like how much money one of us can spend without having to console someone else. And I don't think we've ever changed that number, but I know that it would have increased by now. And so I'm just like
$50.
It was probably like $1,000 in the operating agreement or something like that.
Dude, and I'm taking people out to steak dinners left and right. Dropping
Every time you place an Odeco order, you have to call me and be like, "Hey, can I place this Odeco order?"
Yeah.
You usually do that with the like $12,000
custom
cup orders.
Where I'm like, hey, we got the liquid for this
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, custom cups don't have holding programs
yet.
Yes.
Actually, I'm sure they do.
They probably do.
There's some out there.
Yeah.
All right. Never mind.
Next
That's okay.
question.
Yeah.
Bookkeeping.
Oh my gosh, dude, this is tailored to you.
When to start? Today.
Yesterday.
What does that mean?
I think they're asking when they should start bookkeeping, and the answer is if you didn't, then you should have started bookkeeping the first time you had an expense related to your company. If you didn't do that, then start today.
And just to quickly define bookkeeping, it's looking at everything you're spending and everything you're earning, categorizing all of it, and analyzing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, into income or expense or liability,
Asset,
accounts receivable,
Depreciation. Just kidding. You don't have to worry about that in the beginning.
Well,
I mean, for basic bookkeeping, that's not
Sure.
the top of your list.
then they say pay for a service like QuickBooks versus creating your own templates. Pay for a service like QuickBooks without a doubt, without question.
Whoa.
It is. I'm just imagining trying to bookkeep using like a spreadsheet of my own, and there is. I would pay $100, $200 a month for QuickBooks to not have to do that.
When in actuality, it costs
Like $40 a month.
If you can make a good enough spreadsheet to do your own bookkeeping, then you're in the wrong business, and
Yeah.
you need to start an app.
And
A bookkeeping
if
app.
if you knew how to make that good of a spreadsheet, you would just be using QuickBooks anyways because you would know that it's worth the money. So
Whoa.
use
Shots
QuickBooks without a doubt. And then the last question: how specific should you be? This is interesting because I do think that there's some amount of liberty here. I would say talk with someone who knows more than you about this one-on-one. Once again, in our platform that we are building, I will probably just have some recommended accounts for your scenario. But I would say at least break it down a little bit. So in your income accounts, you're going to want to have like in your income from coffee beverages, and then your income from retail box sales. Same thing with your cost of goods sold. Have your cost of goods sold related to coffee beverages. Have how much you paid your wholesale partner for retail boxes specifically. And then if you make a connection to your bank, say that you gave Valor $1,000, you can just look on the invoice and then split that transaction into, okay, this was bulk expense, this was retail expense. So I would say be as specific as you want. I will say for us, it's like we have coffee and tea income, we have food income, we have merch income, retail box income, some other stuff. And that would be just for like the cafe. And then for roasting, we have like wholesale income. I even split it into like how much was just from Valor Cafe income, how much was from e-commerce income, how e-commerce like coffee sales, e-commerce merch sales, and then you have your cost of goods accounts for all of those. Other expense accounts like utilities, you can just have a utilities account and just put Wi-Fi, water, electric, all in there. But yeah, I would say, get specific and just make sure that you aren't categorizing things in the completely wrong category. So like if you go out and get Chipotle for lunch, that is not a cost of goods sold sale. You could, if you had an account that is as broad as like meals or whatever, do that. But also just talk to the person who is filing your taxes and ask them how you should break it down, and maybe sit down with them, and they should help you if you're going to be giving them money at the end of the year anyways.
One of the clear pros here is like whenever you can analyze your like the numbers and data of your business, you just make better decisions. If next time, let's just take seasonal drinks, for example. So we do a seasonal menu that rotates pretty much quarterly, a little bit more frequent than that sometimes. And if we're able to look at the sales from our seasonal menu, and then we're able to compare that against how much we spent on the products necessary to create that revenue, that's hugely important information. And you're able to make adjustments and be like, is this worth it? Not to say that everything has to be centered around profit, because we have made decisions in the past where something is not great for us profit wise, but it's great for us intangibly in another way that improves culture and then funnels more money towards our more high profit items.
Dude, exposure.
Perfect example, food. Like our food program, profit's not great, but we acquire more customers overall because of it, because we have a food option and they buy a cup of drip or a latte. We have a better margin on that. But a reason why you want to analyze all this data is another part of it is cash flow. I feel like we've talked about cash flow so much over the years, like understanding what it is. Because if you just look at your bank account on any given Wednesday, it's not a reflection of how well you're doing necessarily, because you have
Wednesday to Friday. That's a big difference right there.
Yeah, because you got it. If like for example, we use Square, and so we get a Square deposit from our cafes. Is it every day?
Yeah,
just
pretty much
after each day
and
of
like
business.
Monday is the whole weekend, pretty much.
Okay, so we get that, And then, payroll is we do biweekly payroll.
And monthly payroll.
And monthly. So
monthly.
Monthly too?
Monthly.
Yeah, thanks, Ethan.
I'm trying to contribute.
Yeah.
I got to find my spots.
No, it's great.
And then sometimes bi-monthly, bi-monthly and monthly payroll fall on the same day, plus rent is due the next day.
Yep. And then, Ethan's got to buy his cups.
Yeah.
My precious cups.
And, we got to make a Uline order for a ton of boxes in the roastery. And so you're able, whenever you categorize all these things, you can look more holistically at the end of a month. But even then, it's not like the most perfect representation. But you can take an average, especially like looking back over a quarter or over a year, and start to really see where your money's going. Mm-hmm. But it can't just be like, let's just be creative and dream and then like make it happen.
Yeah.
It like there has to be these systems and guardrails that allow you to be creative and dream, or else you'll just go out of business.
Yeah, for sure. I'll say a couple things. One is that QuickBooks isn't going to have all the answers for everything you just said. You are going to have to build some supplemental spreadsheet things. So if you don't know Excel, then watch a 2-hour YouTube video and learn the basics. Like we have, like you're talking about seasonal drinks. Like we have a spreadsheet that me and Ethan use for like seasonal cost, like seasonal drink cost, and building that stuff out to where we can find the relevant info that we need and help us price those things. Also, will probably be on our platform. Some spreadsheet
That'd be a good one.
So that sort of stuff, don't expect QuickBooks to have all the answers for you, because it probably could, but you'd have to get hyper specific. And then your accountant's going to sit down and look at that and be like, what do I do with this? What's a Tokyo Drift?
Yep.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. There's that. And then I had something else.
Oh, come on. Think, bro. Cash flow, structure, so you can be free.
I lost it.
I was just thinking while you're saying, like, nothing's lamer if, like, you're running this chill, organic coffee shop flow, and you're buying stuff here, buying stuff there, and then payday comes around and you can't pay your team.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're like, well, this didn't work out exactly how I planned. It's like, I'll get the money. We'll get it after the weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, those people are kind of relying on that paycheck to come. So the back end is huge.
And that's what makes me, even in like cash flow strapped seasons, that stuff lives in my mind rent free, of like we're a couple steps away from like, a couple, the AC unit craps out.
Yeah.
Then have backups that you can look at, lines of credit. That's why the Square thing is kind of cool, like knowing and everyone gets that through Square. I'm not recommending you take that because it's a pretty high interest loan, but if crap was to really hit the fan, you needed some working capital for like a couple weeks, pull something out and then just pay it right back.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep those safeguards in mind and just plan to never use them and try to figure out other ways to never have to use that. What I remember what I was going to say, and we have never been very good about setting a yearly budget. But I would say that is something that we are looking forward to next year, is that it's going to be our first year of like really setting a budget for ourselves and trying to stick to it, because you can kind of look at this podcast and see that we don't spend money on some of the typical things that coffee shops would just spend money on. And we've definitely looked at a lot of this company as trying to, we've transferred some of our liquid assets, if you will.
We will.
Well, whenever you have working capital sitting, which to clarify, if anyone doesn't know, it's just the money that lives in your bank account. And you're not necessarily, you're just keeping it there in case something happens. You want to have a good balance of investing that money and making those dollars work for you so that you can make more dollars. And then also having enough to where if something happens, you can just, float out $3,000 for we had to replace the AC unit in our first cafe, right? And so, was that just working capital like that we just had,
Yeah. Pretty much.
So, if you want that balance of, okay, these dollars are just sitting there. They could be invested into a money-making asset, or we also need to keep them.
Yeah,
for
you got to have a
something
good
like that.
balance for sure. Because there's plenty of things I can think of right now that would make us money if we went out and bought it, but it's probably not the wisest decision. On working capital, last thing I'll say there is some people have the view that any amount of money in your bank account for liability reasons, you should just distribute out to yourself. And then because of liability reasons, because if something happens with the business, it's a lot harder to touch your personal assets than to touch the assets of the business.
What needs to happen for that?
Hey, I'm just saying.
Lawsuit.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing, but some
Who's
people,
gonna sue
we
us?
could
We're so
take
nice.
things in
We're so
that
nice.
direction of us all agreeing, like, hey, let's just distribute this money out to ourselves, put it in a savings account, don't touch it. In essence, we're still calling it Valor's money, and then if something happens, we reinvest into the company, and it just cancels out your distribution essentially.
So you're just a smaller target.
Yeah,
There.
smaller target for sure. And that's a part of why if you structure your company into multiple businesses, if you have multiple locations.
Isn't
so on
that
and
the
so
point of an LLC though? It's like to protect the owners.
forth. Limited liability company.
We're trying to
That's what
limit-
I'm saying.
But
trying
yeah,
to limit
exactly.
our
It
liability.
protects the owners. So if the business has money in it, then it's the business's money. It's touchable by the outside. Once you distribute it to yourself, that money is yours.
So part of an LLC is that you can just easily, like the flow of money is more easy between
It's fluid.
Essentially, we are not financial experts. I
Yeah.
will say that. But yes, I'm not saying, your assets can still be touched, especially if you're talking about, you sign a lease and you're the guarantor on the lease. I mean,
Crap. My name.
we've all been there.
My name's on some stuff.
So with those sorts of things, like
They got your home address.
you can be touched.
So the if you're the guarantor on a lease, then that is
Or
sort
a
of
loan. Yeah.
or a loan. That's sort of
Or a
like
lease.
that's where
That's where they get you.
the LLC breaks down a little bit. Like
Yeah.
your personal assets can be touched.
Exactly.
Because they don't care what you are. You're
Yeah.
just giving
You're
them
nothing.
money. Yeah, like
You're nothing.
Yeah.
They just want your monthly rent.
Yeah. So, anyways, are you
Wow.
asleep yet?
Hey, wait.
People are driving. They're like,
Hey, for the right person, this is gold.
yeah. I could go on all day, boys, but I'm not going to.
Hey, I mean this platform you're talking about. I've been telling some of our wholesale partners about it. It's a huge project.
And to be clear, whether you're a wholesale account or not, it'll be accessible for the right price.
Yeah, yeah.
$50,000.
A lot of podcasts end up doing like a Patreon type thing where the listeners can subscribe for more exclusive content, and we're taking a similar idea but just applying it to like our own platform. And I know that a lot of you that listen are starting businesses in the coffee industry, and so we don't claim to know all the answers. But I was telling someone this yesterday. We at every turn in our business, we have just had to figure it out. Like when we don't know how to do something, of course we've had awesome mentors throughout the years, but many of them are not in the coffee industry. Mm-hmm. And so they're able to give us principles, but if we need to figure out how to do something, we just have to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so a benefit of that is we know our business inside and out, and we've tried things and we've failed a lot too. And so that knowledge at our expense is valuable. So, and this podcast is a great time to share it. And we love sharing all this stuff. Like part of that is because when we were starting, honestly, like the Cat and Cloud podcast was awesome for us. And I just remember thinking like, man, they're just giving out all this information for free. And like, why? And so we're paying it forward there in some sense. But if you ever want more, then this platform that we're working on will be part of that.
Yeah, there's just some things that's like, it'd be so, what's the word? Lame if we just walked through a spreadsheet on a podcast. It's like, why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. This is our cool zone, our fun zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're going to create like a business zone, coffee zone. The coffee zone.
The coffee
I
zone.
just like the word zone, like zone coverage. What's your favorite zone coverage?
Quarters.
Quarters.
Cover one spy.
Wow, I do like Cover One Spy.
This is and was and will be the Coffee Sometimes podcast.
That's right.
And you have been listening to it.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we gotta come up with some more like phrases for this part of it. I always say, if you've enjoyed this podcast, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
We'll
if
break out the
you've-
whiteboard.
Like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this podcast, and rate/review on your podcast platform
Of choice.
of
choice.
I don't really care if they've enjoyed it. Just like do us a
Do it
favor.
anyways?
Please.
Yeah.
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 True.
Like it's like a decent human being thing to do.
We
Yeah.
love the comments as well. We love comments. We love emails. We love these
Colson,
questions. If you have
Josh
any
Cappuccino.
If you have any questions, then send them to us either on
Nice.
Instagram at Coffee Sometimes Pod, or our email at valor.coffee, and we'll get back to you guys. I'm gonna be real. We're thinking about changing the name of the podcast.
Okay, I didn't even know that.
I think it's already decided.
Yeah, it's already
To the
decided.
coffee zone.
So
Coffee zone.
if you see this change to the Valor Coffee podcast or the Valor Coffee program,
With a U at the end.
that would be funny.
That would be funny.
Coffee program.
Then
terrible
don't be
for people to
surprised.
find.
We've been talking about it. Coffee sometimes will live on in infamy, but
Just because when we first started, it was way more of like, let's just press record and like let's just talk.
Maybe an acoustic guitar will be there.
yeah,
We'll just talk about coffee sometimes.
Hey, let me say this. This is becoming more of a relationship, though. We're relying on our. We also need a name for people that like this program.
Yeah.
We want their coffee.
Zoners.
The zoners. We want them to give us coffee to review. We also really want them to start sending us more questions so that
Yeah.
we can
Love the
talk
questions.
about that. Those are kind of like becoming the two pillars of this program. And we can't do that just the three of us.
It's a collective.
It's a collective.
It's a collective
of
imagination.
zoners.
Zoners.
if you want to send us coffee for our coffee review segment, then reach out either on Instagram or our email as well, and we'll review it.
Dude, I mean, maybe the well's got to get dry, but like sending someone coffee if they send us coffee kind of thing.
Yeah. Little swap.
Yeah, but we can play hard to get for a little bit, see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see what
Already
happens.
good. Already good. Thanks for watching and listening. Don't do that. Ethan just sprayed himself in the face with a water bottle. Love you. Bye.